Kate is in labor when she and her husband John enter a hospital. While John waits behind to sign her in, she is wheeled away. Kate starts bleeding right away. Her spouse isn't there yet when she wakes up in an operating room with medical personnel all around her. When the nurse informs her that her kid has passed away, she finds the entire situation unsettling and terrifying. Kate finds it unbelievable. As if nothing went wrong, John enters the room and begins to record the birth. She receives the baby from the nurse. Kate abruptly wakes up in her bed while yelling. She looks at the scar on her stomach as she gets up and heads to the bathroom. She picks up a tablet. When Kate attends psychotherapy the following day, Dr. Browning informs her that dreams are a common reaction to the trauma of a stillbirth. Kate questions whether the nightmare was related to that or her impending adoption of a kid. She fears that she may not be prepared. When Kate admits to her therapist that she was thinking about buying some alcohol, Browning informs her that what matters is that she ultimately decided not to buy any. The therapist informs her that she must finally choose whether or not to proceed with the adoption. Kate heads to Mac's school to pick up her deaf daughter. While driving home, she nearly causes an accident when she moves distractedly from a stop sign. Later on, Kate can be seen writing music and playing the piano. She walks outside after hearing a commotion that annoys her and discovers Max hurling a basketball against the wall. The child apologizes when she yells at her to stop. When John and their son Daniel get home, the three of them play basketball around. Kate asks Max to read her a story that evening as she puts Max to bed. The deceased child is the subject of the story. Will she get a new sister? Max asks. Kate takes another medication before going to bed. After she climbs into John's bed, they discuss the adoption. They will carry out her decision, which she made. They are spotted plunging into an orphanage later on. They are greeted directly by Sister Abigail, who instructs them to look around. While John heads to the second story, Kate remains on the first floor, watching the young girls play. Entering the room where Esther is painting, he hears a girl sing. As Kate and Abigail enter the room, she begins telling him a fantastic story about the picture she is creating. After John introduces them, the three of them go on their conversation. The youngster claims that because she is unique, no one has ever spoken to her before. She seems to be liked by them. They discuss adopting Esther with Abigail. She informs them that she was born in Russia and that her parents perished in a house fire while bringing her to the United States. Overall, though, Abigail believes the girl is fantastic. Kate concurs. They bid goodbye to Abigail and get her from the orphanage after 3 weeks. Kate teaches Esther sign language while they are driving. Max is happy to see them as they arrive at the house. Kate is immediately greeted by Esther, who asks how much she can hear. She informs her that she has adequate hearing to be able to read lips. They are welcomed inside by Daniel and grandmother Barbara. All of them, with the exception of Daniel, who already appears envious of the girl, especially after she gives John a big embrace of gratitude, give her welcoming presents that evening. Daniel and his friends walk outdoors to the treehouse and rummage through some filthy mags. As Kate and Barbara discuss Max and Kate's intention to resume teaching after Esther settles in, Esther and Max play in the snow. Barbara appears to be let down by Kate. That evening, as Kate gets ready for bed, a storm is brewing. When Esther awakens, she heads to Max's chamber. A knock on the door interrupts John and Kate's passionate kissing to reveal two girls requesting to share their bed. John should have Esther sleep next to him. When Esther walks down the stairs wearing a fancy outfit, the following morning, the other kids laugh. They are all set to leave the house and head to school. Kate inquires as to whether Esther is truly comfortable wearing it to school, and the child assures her that being unique is perfectly acceptable. Kate permits her to don the gown. Subsequently, as her teacher is welcoming her to the class, one of the children teases her. On that particular day, Kate runs outside and yells that it's not acceptable for Max and Esther to be playing on the ice lake. Daniel shoots a bird and plays with a paintball gun at the same time. Max is furious as Esther and she approach, but Esther offers him a big rock and tells him to end the creature's suffering. She does it for him because he doesn't want to. Esther takes a bath afterwards. When Kate enters her room to put her laundry away, she discovers an ancient Bible wedged into a drawer. She sees a picture of a man inside the restroom and stares through it, but she doesn't hear Esther looking out. Daniel shoves Esther's books over since his buddies at school are making fun of him because of her. A girl from her class finds her Bible, and as they fight for it, it falls to the ground, and that's when she goes to pick them up. When Esther picks it up, the girl calls her a dog and lunges for her choker. Esther lets out a cry. She is learning how to play the piano from Kate later on. She refuses to comment about the incident at the school when she is questioned about it later. When Esther questions Kate about the baby she lost, Kate gives her a scrapbook that she has already started for her. While pointing her the roses where her ashes were dispersed, Kate tells her what transpired. Kate and John make love in the kitchen after supper, believing the children are asleep. Suddenly, Esther shows up. Kate goes to talk to her about it. The following morning, Esther seems unfazed as she paints, saying she knows about it and uses the F word. Kate and John talk about it later, and she thinks they should take her to a therapist. John thinks it's overreacting to take the child to therapy for one dirty word. John takes the girls to a park, and while they're at a swing, one of his neighbors comes over to flirt with him. Meanwhile, Esther's bully comes into the playground as well. Esther's attention is divided between her and John's exchange with the neighbor. The bully is actually afraid of Esther and looks out for her as she goes to play in the castle. She wants to go down a slide when Esther pushes her suddenly, breaking her leg. Max witnesses her doing it. That evening, when John and Esther are having dinner, Max verifies the rumor that the girl slipped. Max and Esther each say a prayer before they eat. She even knows sign language more proficiently than Daniel. The parents step in as he begins to antagonize her and call her derogatory names. Feeling enraged and swearing, he flees. John locks up his treehouse as a form of discipline. Later, Sister Abigail contacts Kate while she and the girls are in the supermarket. Kate persists even though Esther won't speak with her. Excusing herself, she tells Sister Abigail all that has been going on, and Max reads her lips, repeating what she said to Esther. Kate is surprised when Esther plays the piano flawlessly that evening. When she questions Esther about why she claimed not to know how to play, the girl tells her that she did it to help herself. That evening, Kate and John get into a heated dispute about Esther that goes out of hand. Satisfied, Esther hears them in the adjacent room. Sister Abigail visits the home one day. Thinking that there might be a problem with Esther, she discusses her with the parents. She mentions a few possible past transgressions, such as abusing other children. After learning everything, the girl rushes to get Max and tells her that she must assist her in order for the cruel woman to refrain from taking her away. While John believes Abigail is exaggerating, Kate believes she could be onto something. He accepts when Kate proposes they take her to a therapist. In the meantime, Esther gives Max instructions to locate the treehouse's keys, but she actually uses them to open John's safe and take out a revolver. She removes all but one of the bullets from the handgun. She gives Max a scary look as she points it at him. While Abigail drives away from the house, Max is taken to a bridge by Esther, who assures her that they will scare her so severely that she won't want to return. She shoves Max out into the street as the car gets closer, and Abigail nearly runs the girl over before the car smashes. Max is crying when Abigail arrives, and Esther strikes her with a hammer. Max is told by her to assist her in getting Abigail off the road. Esther uses the hammer to kill her when they roll her over, but she's still alive. The two of them enter the treehouse, where Esther conceals the hammer and her bloodied garments. She threatens to put Max in jail as well for assisting her. Then Esther declares her love for her. Daniel witnesses their descent from the treehouse, but Esther also sees him. That evening, she threatens him not to speak when she enters his room brandishing a scalpel. The boy has self-poop. While Esther waits outside, John and Kate take her to visit Browning, who speaks with them about her. The therapist asserts that Kate is the issue, and that the girl is not the problem. She believes Kate is taking her frustrations over not being a good mother on Esther. John concurs with her logic. After they arrive home, Kate receives a call from the orphanage informing her that Sister Abigail hasn't been back since the day before. Her body is discovered, where Esther left it when the police hunt for her. Speaking with Kate and John, a policeman declares that they have no suspects. While turning on and off the lights in her aquarium, Esther is in her room, displaying a graphic picture she created of the family and the house. Kate looks up information about disturbed kids on the internet, then shows John what she finds. She informs him that she will no longer be visiting Dr. Browning after he disagrees with her once more. Concerned about Esther's identity, Kate promises to get in touch with the Russian orphanage, where Esther was raised. She discovers upon making the contact that no records exist of her prior to her arrival in the United States. When Esther refuses to go to the dentist the following day, John goes to wake her up and tells her he will postpone. After spending the day painting together, Esther confides in him that she believes Kate dislikes her. As she drives the other kids to school, Kate inquires about them. They mislead, claiming she has never committed a wrong. Kate is informed by Esther that evening that she has a gift for her when she enters the kitchen. Picked from the spot where Kate's daughter's ashes were spread, she offers her a pail full of roses. When Kate reaches out to grab her, agitated, John explains that it was his fault. Esther breaks her hand in the garage the same evening. Once she's back in bed, she calls out to John, complaining that her arm hurts. When he examines it, he discovers that it's fractured. After their visit to the doctor, he is snuggling her into their bed when Kate enters. Kate claims that she didn't grab her that hard when he confronts her. Afterwards, she purchases 2 bottles of wine from a liquor store. She spills the remaining wine from the open bottle despite becoming somewhat inebriated. The next morning, Kate picks up the children for school. When Kate rushes to aid Daniel after he gets out of the car and his bag rips, Esther puts the car in drive while Max is still inside. Kate pursues the automobile until the snow eventually stops it. When Dr. Browning visits their home that evening, Kate claims to have put the car in park and that Max is standing in for Esther. John displays to her the second bottle of wine that Esther discovered. Kate gives them her version of events regarding the wine when the therapist informs her that she has a place prepared for her in a rehabilitation facility. They don't think she's telling the truth about the accident or the wine. John believes she is manipulating him, so he threatens to leave with the kids and gives her a week to check herself into treatment. In the meantime, Esther threatens to shoot her mother should she come clean to Max. Subsequently, Max informs Daniel about Abigail and the treehouse when Daniel enters her room. Esther hears him as he says he'll grab the goods from the treehouse. In the middle of the night, Kate sneaks into Max's room. Esther flicks on the light abruptly. As they return and forth, Esther lets her know that she has read the diary by showing her the one she had been keeping. Kate resists her attempts to provoke her. When Kate doesn't hear back from the orphanage the next day, she decides to pick up Esther's Bible. It's concealed within a soft toy, which she discovers to contain photographs of guys. When she comes across the word Sarn Institute on it, she instantly looks up their definition online. When she contacts the number she locates, the person who answers informs her that the institute is a mental health facility rather than an orphanage. Daniel leaves the house covertly in the meantime to retrieve the items from the treehouse. After trailing him there, Esther begins dousing Daniel with fuel while also lighting the evidence. She confines him to the flaming treehouse. When he contacts his mother, she is too preoccupied with Esther's investigation. Daniel climbs onto the roof and cries out for aid. As Esther watches, he stumbles onto a wooden beam but loses his balance and falls to the ground. Kate suddenly notices the flames as Esther approaches Daniel to use a rock to kill him. Before she can take any further action, Kate shows up and pushes Max away. Daniel is still with us. When the doctor arrives and tells them he may not recall what occurred because of a significant neck injury, they are all in the hospital. That is what worries Esther. When Kate tells John what she has learned about Esther, he remains unconvinced. Esther leaves the argument and heads to Daniel's chamber. Max pursues her after realizing what is happening. As Max leaves to fetch her parents, Esther begins suffocating Daniel with his pillow. Daniel's room alarm sounds, and the medical staff tends to his revived body. Kate approaches Esther and gives her a slap. She is seized and sedated by orderlies. She overlooks a crucial phone call. When Kate awakens later, she asks about Daniel right away. As Esther spends the night in the hospital, she begs John to keep her away from Max. Max removes her hearing aid that evening, and her father tucks her in. When she says goodnight to her, Esther enters and takes the aid. John enters the living room and starts drinking. Dressed as an adult, Esther descends the stairs and sits down next to John, who is oblivious to the situation. When Esther begins to kiss him, he pulls away. He clarifies that their love is different from his and Kate's. She instructs John to stop talking to her like a child, and to go to her room. He promises to contact the orphanage regarding her tomorrow. Crying, Esther retires to her room. A doctor at the Sarn Institute calls Kate in the interim. After recognizing Esther, he advises her to phone the police and get her family out of the house. He informs her that Esther is not a young child, but rather has a hormone imbalance that merely makes her appear that way. She is, after all, a mature woman. As one of the hospital's most aggressive patients, Esther resisted her restraints, leaving marks on her hands and neck. Kate is informed by the doctor that she has killed at least 7 people. Kate is scrambling to get home because she doesn't know how she fooled them. When she gets back home, Esther destroys her room and takes off all the makeup that was used to cover up the fact that she isn't a little child. When John visits her, he discovers that her paintings are all over the place. While going home, Kate calls him, but before he can answer, power goes out in the house. She makes a police call. When John discovers a light and starts to search the house, Esther stabs him. She continues stabbing him until she kills him even though he is incapacitated but still alive. When Max notices her, she pursues her next. Kate speeds toward the home, slamming into it, then heading upstairs right away. After discovering John, she searches for Max after realizing he is in danger. When she can't find what she's looking for, she heads to the bathroom. Esther shoots her out of the blue. Fortunately, Esther doesn't find Kate hiding in her bedroom since she's hiding outside the window. While Kate watches her through the glass roof, Max hides in the garden, where Esther is coming for her. After pursuing her once more, Esther tracks down Max and pursues her as well. As Kate shattering the glass roof and landing on top of Esther, Max flees. Max wakes Kate awake a moment later. Leaving Esther behind, She grabs the rifle and lifts herself up. She steps outside into the woods. When the cops show up and go inside the house, Esther isn't there. She is suddenly chasing Kate and Max while brandishing a knife. After they fall onto the ice lake, they struggle, with Esther pursuing Kate nonstop. Max breaks the ice by pulling out a rifle and firing. They both tumble inside and struggle until Kate knocks Esther out. Kate kicks Esther back into the lake as she is crawling out, pleading with her not to let her die.